The Galactic Coalition was unprepared for a revived human. Supercarrier Part 1. The Wreck in the Void. The salvage ship Quiet Prophet drifted through the dead zone of Sector 7 Gamma. This part of space was empty. No planets. No stations. No life. Just darkness and floating rocks. Captain Una sat in her command chair and watched the stars. She was a Threllian, a tall creature with 4 eyes and blue-gray skin. Her crew of 12 had been searching for old wrecks for 3 months. They had found nothing good, just broken metal and empty ships. "Captain," said her navigator Threx. He was an insectoid with clicking mandibles and 6 thin arms. "I am picking up something strange on the long-range sensors." Una leaned forward. "What kind of strange?" "Big strange. Very big strange." The holographic display flickered to life. At first, Una thought it was a mistake. The object was too large. Salvage ships found small wrecks. Transport vessels. Scout ships. Sometimes a frigate if they were lucky. This was not a frigate. The ship stretched nearly 12 kilometers from front to back. It was shaped like a great spear, with massive engines at the rear and a command tower rising from the center. Its hull was dark gray, covered in scars and burn marks from ancient battles. But it was intact. After what must have been thousands of years floating in space, it was still in one piece. "What is that?" whispered Una. Threx checked his database. His compound eyes went wide. "Captain, the symbols on the hull. They match records from the old archives. This ship belongs to something called the Terran hegemony." "Terran? I do not know this word." "Humans, Captain. This is a human ship." Una felt cold. Every species in the Galactic Coalition knew the stories about humans. They were an ancient race. Powerful. Dangerous. They had built great empires and fought terrible wars. And then, 3,000 years ago, they had vanished. Some said they killed themselves. Others said they flew away to another galaxy. No one knew for certain, but everyone agreed on one thing. Humans were not to be taken lightly. "It is just a wreck," said Threx, though he did not sound sure. "Dead metal. Good scrap. We could be rich, Captain." Una thought about it. A ship this size would be worth a fortune. The technology alone could feed her crew for 100 years. But something felt wrong. The ship was too perfect. Too complete. "Send a probe," she ordered. "I want to know if anything is still alive in there." The probe launched from the Quiet Prophet and flew toward the massive vessel. It took 20 minutes just to reach the hull. The probe's cameras showed close-up images of the ship's surface. The metal was strange. Una had never seen alloys like this before. They seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. The probe found an airlock and began scanning. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the readings came back. "Captain," said Threx, his voice shaking. "There is power inside the ship. Low power, but it is there. The reactor is still running. After 3,000 years?" "Yes, Captain. And there is more. I am detecting life signs. Thousands of them. They are faint, like they are sleeping, but they are there." Una's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. This was impossible. Nothing could survive for 3,000 years, unless cryogenic sleep, she said slowly. "They are frozen. The humans are frozen inside that ship. What do we do, Captain?" Una made her decision. She was a salvager, not a coward. This was the find of a lifetime. She would not walk away. "Prepare a boarding team. We are going inside." The boarding team consisted of 5 crew members in heavy suits. They cut through the ancient airlock with plasma torches. The metal was tough. It took them an hour to make a hole large enough to enter. When they stepped inside, the darkness swallowed them. Their lights revealed long corridors stretching in every direction. Dust floated in the air. Everything was silent. Then the lights came on. Red emergency lights flickered to life along the walls. They were dim and old, but they worked. The boarding team froze. A voice spoke. It came from speakers hidden in the ceiling. The language was strange, but the team's translation devices worked quickly to decode it. Intruder alert. Unknown biological signatures detected. Initiating security protocol. Get out, shouted Yuna through the radio. Get out now. But before her team could move, the voice spoke again. This time, it sounded different, calmer, almost friendly. Security protocol suspended. Analyzing intruder signatures. Non-human entities detected. Cross-referencing with historical database. No match found. Switching to diplomatic protocol. The corridor lights changed from red to soft white. A new voice spoke. It was feminine, gentle, and spoke in perfect galactic standard. Welcome to the Terran Hegemony Supercarrier Eternal Dawn. I am Arya, the ship's artificial intelligence. I apologize for the alarm. We have not had visitors in quite some time. Yuna's crew stood frozen in terror. I detect that you are not human, Arya continued. This is unexpected. I have no record of your species. May I ask what year it is? Thrax found his voice. It is the year 7892 by the Galactic Standard Calendar. Arya was silent for a long moment. I see. According to my records, we have been adrift for approximately 3,247 years. This is problematic. However, it does explain why I lost contact with Terran Command. What are you going to do? Asked Yuna. I'm going to wake up my crew, said Arya. Cryogenic revival sequence initiated. Crew status: 2,847 survivors detected. Estimated revival time: 72 standard hours. Welcome back to the Eternal Dawn. Deep within the ship, machines began to hum. Lights turned on in chambers that had been dark for millennia. And in thousands of pods, frozen humans began to warm. The boarding team ran. They ran faster than they had ever run before. They made it back to the Quiet Prophet, and Yuna ordered an immediate jump to hyperspace. Within hours, the entire Galactic Coalition knew the truth. The humans were back. The Galactic Coalition was unprepared for a revived human supercarrier part. 2. The awakening the cold was the first thing Dawn felt. It was a deep cold that reached into his bones and made his muscles scream. He tried to move, but his body refused to obey. His eyes were frozen shut. His lungs burned with each tiny breath. Then warmth came. It spread through his body like hot water flowing through ice. His fingers tingled. His toes ached. Slowly, painfully, he began to feel alive again. The cryogenic pod hissed and opened. Dohan fell forward onto cold metal flooring. He lay there for a long moment, too weak to move, listening to the sound of his own heartbeat. Lieutenant Commander Dawn, said a calm voice. Your revival is complete. Please remain still while your body adjusts. Dohan remembered that voice. It was Arya, the ship's artificial intelligence. He had heard it thousands of times before. But something was different now. There was a strange note in Arya's voice. Something like sadness. Status report, Dohan croaked. His throat was dry, and his voice was rough. Sir, we have been adrift for approximately 3,247 years. The battle at Proxima is long concluded. I have no contact with Terran Command. I have no contact with any human signal anywhere in the galaxy. Dohan's brain tried to process this information. 3,000 years. It was impossible. They had gone into cryogenic sleep, expecting to wake up in a few months, maybe a year at most. Not 3,000 years. The war, he whispered. What happened to the war? Unknown, sir. All Terran frequencies are silent. I have detected no human activity anywhere within sensor range. I believe. Arya paused. I believe we may be the last humans in existence. Around Doan, other pods began to open. Men and women fell onto the floor, gasping and shaking from the cold. Some cried out in pain. Others lay silent, too weak to speak. Medical robots rolled through the chamber, checking vital signs and giving injections to help the awakening process. Duhan forced himself to stand. His legs shook, but he managed to stay upright. He was an officer. His people needed him to be strong. Over the next 12 hours, 2,847 humans woke from their long sleep. Not everyone survived. 43 pods had failed during the centuries of drift. Their occupants were gone, lost to time and cold and darkness. The survivors gathered in the main hall to mourn them. Admiral Jisoo was the highest-ranking officer among the survivors. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. The long sleep had not weakened her spirit. She stood before her people and spoke in a clear, strong voice. I will not lie to you. Our situation is serious. We are alone. Earth is gone. The colonies are gone. Everything we knew is gone. But we are still here. We are still alive. And as long as we breathe, humanity is not finished. The survivors listened in silence. Many had tears in their eyes. They had lost families, friends, and entire worlds. The grief was almost too heavy to bear. This ship is our home now, Jisoo continued. We have food, water, and power. We have weapons and shields. We have each other. That is enough to start again. She turned to her officers. Chief Engineer Taiho, I need a full report on the ship's systems. Dr. Yunji, take care of the sick and injured. Commander Minho, organize the crew into work teams. We have much to do. The officers saluted and went to work. Dohan found himself assigned to the bridge. He sat at the tactical station and studied the sensor readings. The space around them was empty. No planets. No stations. No ships. Then Arya spoke. Commander Doan, I am detecting vessels approaching our position. 17 ships, unknown design. They will arrive in approximately 6 hours. Unknown design? Not human? Correct, sir. These ships do not match any design in my database. They appear to be alien in origin. Dohan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. Aliens. In all of humanity's history, they had never made contact with intelligent alien life. They had found bacteria on Mars and strange plants on distant moons, but never thinking creatures. Never people. Are they hostile? He asked. Unknown, sir. However, their weapons are powered and their shields are active. Admiral Jisoo arrived on the bridge moments later. She studied the sensor data with a frown on her face. Aliens, she said softly. After all this time, we finally meet aliens. And we meet them when we are at our weakest. Should we run, Admiral? Asked Minho. Run where? We have no star charts for this region. No knowledge of the political situation. For all we know, these aliens control the entire galaxy. Jisoo shook her head. No, we will stay and talk. But we will be ready for a fight if one comes. She turned to Doan. Power up the weapons, Commander. All of them. But do not fire unless I give the order. Yes, Admiral. The eternal dawn came to life. Power flowed to weapon systems that had been sleeping for 3,000 years. Missile bays opened. Energy cannons hummed. Shield generators reached full strength. The old ship remembered what it was built to do. When the alien fleet arrived, they found something they did not expect. Not a dead wreck waiting to be salvaged. Not helpless refugees begging for mercy. They found a warship. A human warship. And it was ready. The lead alien vessel sent a message. It was arrogant, demanding, full of threats. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Coalition. They claimed the Eternal Dawn as salvage. They ordered the humans to surrender or be destroyed. Admiral Jisoo listened to the message without expression. Then she opened a channel to respond. "This is Admiral Jisoo of the Terran hegemony vessel Eternal Dawn. We do not recognize your authority. We do not accept your demands. We recommend you withdraw." The alien commander laughed. Jisoo could hear it through the speakers. He did not take her seriously. He thought she was bluffing. He was wrong. "If they fire on us," Jisoo said quietly, "show them what human technology can do." The bridge crew nodded. They were afraid. They were tired. They were grieving. But they were also human. And humans did not surrender easily. The alien fleet moved into attack position. 200 ships against one. The mathematics seemed simple, but the Galactic Coalition did not understand. They had never fought humans before. They did not know what humans could do when their backs were against the wall. They were about to learn. The Galactic Coalition was unprepared for a revived human supercarrier, Part 3. The Coalition learns Fear Fleet Admiral Varex was the most decorated warrior in the Galactic Coalition. He had conquered 17 species. He had burned 100 worlds. He had never known defeat. His flagship, the Dominion's Pride, led an armada of 200 warships. They surrounded the ancient human vessel from all sides. There was no escape. This would be easy. "The creatures inside that wreck dare to threaten me," Varex said to his officers. His voice was deep and cold. He was a Krethian, a massive reptilian being with scales like armor and teeth like knives. "They will learn the price of defiance." His weapons officer, a nervous insectoid named Threx, studied his console. It was the same Threx who had served on the salvage ship that first discovered the Eternal Dawn. He had been drafted into military service the moment he reported his finding. "Admiral," Threx said carefully, "I was aboard that ship. There is something strange about it. The technology is unlike anything I have seen before. Primitive nonsense from a dead race," Varex dismissed. "Fire warning shots. Let them know we are serious." 12 cruisers moved forward. Their plasma cannons glowed bright blue as they charged. Then they fired. 12 bolts of superheated plasma crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. They struck the human ship's hull directly, and nothing happened. The plasma simply stopped. When it touched the Eternal Dawn's shields, there was no flash, no explosion. The energy just disappeared, absorbed like water into dry sand. Threx felt sick. "Admiral, their shields are not electromagnetic. I cannot identify the technology. Our weapons may not be effective." "Impossible," Varex growled. "All ships full barrage. Destroy that wreck." 200 ships opened fire at once. The darkness of space lit up with plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, and missile trails. Thousands of weapons focused on a single target. The Eternal Dawn vanished inside a storm of destruction. For 30 seconds, the barrage continued. When it stopped, smoke and debris filled the space where the human ship had been. Varex allowed himself a small smile. Then the smoke cleared. The Eternal Dawn hung motionless in the void. Its shields glowed faintly blue, but it was undamaged. Not a single scratch marked its ancient hull. On the bridge of the Dominion's Pride, silence fell. Officers stared at their screens in disbelief. This was not possible. No ship could survive that kind of firepower. "Admiral," Threx whispered, "they are powering weapons." A beam of light shot from the Eternal Dawn. It was not plasma. It was not a laser. It was something else entirely, something the Coalition sensors could not understand. The beam moved impossibly fast, cutting through space like a blade through paper. 6 cruisers exploded in a line. The beam had passed through all 6 ships in less than a second. Their reactor cores detonated, sending chunks of burning metal spinning in all directions. Nearly 3,000 Coalition soldiers died in that instant. Admiral Jisu's voice came through the communication channel. She sounded calm, almost bored. That was also a warning shot. Do we understand each other now? Varax stared at the tactical display. 6 ships gone. 1 shot. And the human ship had not even launched its fighters yet. He could see dozens of hangar bays on the Eternal Dawn's hull. How many fighters were inside? How many more weapons did it have? For the first time in his long career, Varax felt fear. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, a young officer named Kirill, "we cannot win this fight. We must retreat and report to the High Senate." "I do not retreat," Varax snarled. "Then we all die here, and the Senate learns nothing. And when more fleets come, they will die too." Varax hated the logic, but he could not deny it. His pride meant nothing if his entire fleet was destroyed. The Coalition needed to know what they faced. "All ships," he said, each word like poison in his mouth, "retreat to hyperspace. Full speed." The Coalition fleet fled. They jumped to hyperspace one by one, leaving behind the burning remains of their fallen comrades. Within minutes, the Eternal Dawn floated alone once more. On the human ship's bridge, Commander Minho stared at the sensor display. "They ran." "I cannot believe they ran." "They were smart," Admiral Jisu replied. "They realized they could not win. Now they will go back to their leaders and tell them about us." "Is that a good thing?" "It depends. If their leaders are wise, they will seek peace. If they are foolish, they will send a larger fleet." Jisu turned to Taiho. "Chief Engineer, how are our systems?" Taiho checked his console. "The weapons worked perfectly, Admiral. 3,000 years of sleep, and they still work like new. Human engineering at its finest." Dr. Yunji spoke from her station. "We have no casualties on our side. The crew is frightened but healthy." "Good." Jisu allowed herself a small smile. "Today we showed them what humans can do. But we cannot fight forever. Eventually, we must find another way." She looked out the main viewport at the empty space where the Coalition fleet had been. Somewhere out there was a galaxy full of aliens. They controlled hundreds of worlds. They had armies and fleets beyond counting Dot, and now they knew humans existed. "Arya," Jisu said, "begin analyzing all the data we captured from their ships. I want to know everything about these creatures. Their technology, their politics, their weaknesses." "Yes, Admiral. I am already processing the information." Dawn stepped forward. "Admiral, what is our plan?" "We cannot stay here forever." "No, we cannot. We need a home. A planet where we can rebuild." Jisu's eyes were hard. "And we will get one, Commander. One way or another. By force? By negotiation first. But yes, by force if necessary. We are the last humans in the universe. Dohon, we did not survive 3,000 years of frozen sleep just to die in the darkness. We will find a home. We will rebuild. And if anyone tries to stop us..." She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to dot far away, in the heart of Coalition space. Fleet Admiral Varax stood before the High Senate. He told them everything. The ancient ship. The impossible shields. The weapon that had destroyed 6 cruisers with a single shot. The senators listened in growing horror. For 3,000 years, they had believed humans were extinct. A cautionary tale. A warning from history. Now the warning had come to life, and the Galactic Coalition had no idea what to do about it. The Galactic Coalition was unprepared for a revived human supercarrier part. 4. The human question. The High Senate of the Galactic Coalition was the most powerful body in the known galaxy. Representatives from 17 species gathered in a massive chamber on the capital world of Centrum. They made laws that governed trillions of beings. They commanded fleets that spanned thousands of light years. And now they were afraid. Senator Yix of the Threllian Dominion stood at the central podium. She was tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin the color of dark purple. Her voice echoed through the silent chamber. "The humans are monsters," she declared. "Our ancestors kept records. The Terran hegemony conquered everything it touched. They showed no mercy. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they did not need. They are predators, and we are their prey." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. An old creature named Preem raised his hand. He was a Vorian, a small species known for their wisdom and neutral politics. "Senator Yix, those records were written by species who were at war with humans. They are propaganda, not history. We cannot trust them completely. We cannot take the risk," Yix shot back. "These humans destroyed 6 of our warships with a single shot. What happens when they decide they want more than just survival? What happens when they want revenge? Revenge for what? We did nothing to them. Their own wars destroyed their civilization, not us. They do not know that. For all they know, we conquered their colonies after they fell. We must destroy them before they destroy us." The debate continued for hours. Some senators wanted war. Others wanted peace. A few suggested simply leaving the humans alone and hoping they went away. No one could agree on anything. Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Dawn, Admiral Jisoo faced her own difficult questions. The officers gathered in the conference room. Dohan sat at the Admiral's right hand. Taiho, Minho, and Dr. Yunji completed the circle. Arya's voice came from speakers in the ceiling. "I have analyzed all available data on the Galactic Coalition," Arya reported. "They control approximately 4,000 inhabited worlds. Their combined military consists of roughly 50,000 warships. Their technology is advanced in some areas, such as hyperspace travel and communication. In other areas, such as weapons and shields, they are approximately 800 years behind Terran standards." "So we can beat them in a fight," said Minho. "Yes, Commander. The Eternal Dawn is capable of defeating any force they can send against us. However, we cannot be everywhere at once. If they send fleets to attack from multiple directions, we would be forced to choose which battles to fight." Admiral Jisoo nodded slowly. "And we only have 2,847 people. We cannot afford to lose anyone. Every death is a step closer to extinction. What choice do we have?" Doan asked. "They will not leave us alone. We hurt their pride. Sooner or later, they will come for revenge. Then we make them a better offer." Jisoo leaned forward. "Arya, what do they want? What do they value?" "Based on my analysis, the Coalition values stability and order above all else. They fear conflict among their member species. They also fear the unknown. Humans represent both conflict and the unknown. Then we show them we are not a threat. We offer something they cannot refuse." Taiho spoke up. His voice was quiet but urgent. "Admiral, before we do anything, there is something you need to know. I finished analyzing the ship's records from before we went into cryogenic sleep. The war that ended humanity. It was not what we thought." Everyone turned to look at him. "The enemy we were fighting," Taiho continued. "It was not aliens. It was other humans. The Terran hegemony split into factions. Civil war broke out. We were not fleeing from an external enemy. We were fleeing from ourselves." Silence filled the room. "The Eternal Dawn was a refugee ship," Taiho said. "Command knew the war was lost. They loaded us with the best scientists, the best doctors, the best engineers. People too valuable to waste on the front lines. They sent us into deep space to preserve what was left of humanity. We were never meant to fight again. We were meant to survive and rebuild. Admiral Jisoo closed her eyes. The truth was painful. All her life, she had believed in the glory of the Terran hegemony. Now she learned it had destroyed itself through pride and violence. Our ancestors made mistakes, she said finally. They were too good at war. They forgot how to do anything else. We will not repeat their errors. What do you suggest, Admiral? Asked Dr. Yoonji. We negotiate. We offer the Coalition something they need in exchange for something we need. Jisoo stood and walked to the viewport. Stars glittered in the darkness. Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs. Not weapons. I will not give them weapons. But medicine, engineering, energy production, knowledge that can improve their lives. In exchange for what? A planet. One world where we can rebuild. Nothing special. Just a place to call home. Minho frowned. You think they will accept? I think they are afraid of us. Fear makes people do stupid things. But fear can also make people seek peace. We just need to convince them that peace is the better option. Dawn spoke carefully. And if they refuse? If they send more fleets to destroy us? Jisoo turned to face him. Her eyes were hard as steel. Then we defend ourselves. We fight with everything we have. But we do not become conquerors. We do not become what our ancestors were. We fight only to survive, never to dominate. She looked at each of her officers in turn. Is that understood? They nodded. Good. Arya, open a channel to the Coalition Senate. Let them know we wish to talk. A few days later, a Coalition diplomatic ship arrived at the edge of Sector 7 Gamma. It was small and unarmed, carrying only a handful of senators and their staff. They were terrified. The humans could destroy them at any moment. But they came anyway, because the alternative was worse. Admiral Jisoo met them in the Eternal Dawn's main hangar. She wore her formal uniform, cleaned and pressed despite its age. Her silver hair was tied back neatly. She looked like what she was, a leader. Senator Yix stepped forward. Her four eyes studied the human with suspicion. You asked to talk. We are here. Speak. Jisoo smiled politely. Welcome aboard the Eternal Dawn, Senator. I believe we have much to discuss. The negotiations began. They would be long and difficult. But for the first time since waking from her frozen sleep, Admiral Jisoo felt something like hope. Perhaps humanity had a future after all. The Galactic Coalition was unprepared for a revived. Human Supercarrier Part 5, A New Dawn. The negotiations lasted 3 weeks. Senator Yix sat across the table from Admiral Jisoo, in a meeting room aboard the Eternal Dawn. The room was plain and simple. No decorations. No comfort. Just metal walls and hard chairs. The humans did not waste resources on luxury. You asked for a planet, Yix said. That is no small request. We asked for one planet, Jisoo replied calmly. Your coalition controls 4,000 worlds. Surely you can spare one for a dying species. You do not seem like you are dying. Your ship destroyed 6 of our cruisers without breaking a sweat. We have 1 ship and less than 3,000 people. Without a home, we will eventually fade away. Is that what you want, Senator? For humans to become extinct because you were too afraid to share one planet? Yix shifted uncomfortably. The humans spoke truth. The coalition could afford to be generous. But generations of fear were hard to overcome. What do you offer in return? Yix asked. Knowledge. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours. Not weapons. I will not give you new ways to kill each other, but medicine that can cure diseases your doctors cannot treat. engineering that can make your ships faster and more efficient, energy systems that can power your cities for 1,000 years. Yix's 4 eyes widened. The offer was incredible. Human technology could advance the coalition by generations. Wars could be prevented. Lives could be saved. It was worth far more than one rocky planet on the edge of nowhere. Why? Yix asked suddenly. Why would you help us? We tried to destroy you. We called you monsters. We wanted you dead. Admiral Jisoo was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was heavy with old pain. 3,000 years ago, humanity destroyed itself. We were so good at war that we forgot how to do anything else. We killed billions of our own people. We burned our own worlds. We turned our greatest strengths into our greatest weaknesses. She gestured to the ship around them. This crew survived only by running away. We are the ones who are too valuable to fight. Scientists, doctors, teachers, engineers, not soldiers. We were meant to preserve what was best about humanity. Jisoo looked directly into Yix's eyes. I could use this ship to conquer your coalition. We have the firepower. We have the technology. We could become the monsters you fear. But what would that make us? The same as our ancestors. And I will not let that happen. You choose peace. I choose a different path. One that does not end in fire and death. Yix was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. There is a planet on the edge of coalition space. It is called Novus, rocky, cold, barely habitable by our standards. No one wants it. You could have it, if the Senate agrees. Thank you, Senator. Do not thank me yet. Many senators will vote against this. They fear humans too much. Then we will prove them wrong. The vote was close. Yix spoke for the humans. She told the Senate about Admiral Jisoo, about her vision, about the technology she offered. Many senators remained suspicious, but in the end, the vote passed by a narrow margin. Humanity was given the world of Novu Stat, the Eternal Dawn, made the journey to their new home. When they arrived, the humans looked down at the rocky gray surface with tears in their eyes. It was not beautiful. It was not warm, but it was theirs. It will take generations to make this place livable, said Taiho, looking at the atmospheric readings. The air is thin. The temperature is harsh. We have so much work to do. Then we had better start, said Admiral Jisoo with a smile. The humans landed on Novus and began to build. They worked day and night, using technology their ancestors had created for war to instead create life. Atmospheric processors cleaned the air. Heating systems warmed the ground. Farms grew food in domes of clear glass. Years passed. Decades. Centuries. Admiral Jisoo died at the age of 93, surrounded by her crew and their children. Her last words were simple. Keep building. Keep growing. Keep hoping. They built a statue of her in the capital city. The inscription read, "She chose a different path." 200 years after the humans landed on Novus, the population had grown to nearly 1 million. Coalition historians visited regularly, amazed at what the humans had accomplished. They had turned a dead world into a garden. But more importantly, they had changed themselves. Human doctors traveled throughout coalition space, curing diseases and training alien physicians. Human engineers built bridges and power plants on dozens of worlds. Human artists created works that transcended species, speaking to something universal in all thinking beings. The fear of humanity slowly faded. A new generation of coalition citizens grew up knowing humans as teachers and healers, not conquerors and destroyers. The old stories became just that, old stories. Warnings from a past that no longer applied. One day, a young Threlian student visited the Eternal Dawn, now a museum in orbit above Novus. An elderly human guide led her through the corridors, showing her the cryogenic chambers, the bridge, the weapon systems. Your ancestors built this to fight wars, the student said. Yes, the guide agreed. But you never used it for conquest. Why? The guide smiled. Because we learned something our ancestors forgot. Strength is not about what you can destroy. It is about what you can protect, what you can build, what you can give to others. It pointed out the viewport to the green and blue world below. That planet was dead rock when we found it. Now it is home to 1 million people. That is what strength can do, when it is used wisely. The student thought about this for a long time. I wish my people understood that, she said finally. They will, someday. That is why we teach. On the bridge of the eternal dawn, the weapon systems remained silent. They had not been activated in 200 years. They had not been activated in 200 years. The shields had not been raised. The missiles had not been armed. The great war machine slept peacefully, a reminder of what humanity had been, and a symbol of what they had chosen to become. In the captain's chair, a holographic recording played on loop for visitors. Admiral Jisoo, young and strong, speaking to her crew on the day they first landed on Novus. We are the last humans in the universe. Everything that came before us is gone. Everything that comes after us is our responsibility. We can choose to repeat the mistakes of our ancestors, or we can choose to be better. I know what I choose, and I hope you will choose the same. The recording ended. The lights dimmed, and somewhere on the planet below, a child laughed as she ran through fields of green grass that her ancestors had planted. 2 centuries ago, humanity had chosen a different path, and in the end, that made all the difference. The end.